welcome to the Tuesday, September 26, 2017 Audubon Town Planning Board meeting. This meeting is being recorded and televised by local access cable channel. Is anyone in the audience recording the meeting? Can I ask you all to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing on the agenda is a discussion of 826 Southbridge Street, request for waiver of site lighting plan requirements for LED lighting to exterior of Chili's restaurant.
Mr. Chairman, this is, if I could update the board, the applicant is asked to be continued to October, it's not a hearing, but to be put back on as a discussion item on October 10th. They have sufficient time to prepare the photometric plan and submit that to the planning board. It will not be a waiver for the lighting plan, so
It'll be that
October
they have
10th,
one and
they'll
whether
have
or
a
not we
photometric plan.
accept it.
We waived at the last meeting the public hearing requirement and all the other site plan requirements. This was the only requirement that the board left as part of the conditions, so they will be submitting that plan and requesting to get on as a discussion item on October 10th.
Scott, John, Wendy? I don't think we have to vote for that.
No,
We just
no,
put it on.
we'll make sure that they're on the agenda for the 10th.
Okay, second item for discussing is Auburn Housing Committee draft housing review.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, this is an item that was out on the agenda at the last meeting, and I think there was a pretty in-depth presentation made at that time. And again, this evening is Ron Barron from CMRPC, who, as I mentioned, went into a lot of detail, I think, at the last meeting, presenting the plan. And this was also voted on last night, I believe unanimously, by the Board of Selectmen to approve this plan. So, if inclined, whether or not the board would have any comments or would recommend approval of the final draft housing plan.
Scott?
No, I didn't have any issues with that. I'd go forward to it.
John? Randy?
No comment.
So it'd be whether or not, if you could make a motion to approve the final draft.
Can I have a
housing
motion
plan.
to approve the final draft?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Thank you.
Public hearings. It's a little different.
Yeah, this is
Petition.
a petition, the Mall of Auburn LLC requesting the following amendments to Auburn zoning bylaw to construct and maintain 2 double-faced digital billboards on property located at 385 Southbridge Street.
7 p.m.
What time do we have? So, okay.
Yeah, we're up.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay,
Um,
now you
what-
said we have 3.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, there are 3 amendments to the zoning bylaws that are being requested. And in discussing this internally, we felt as though it would probably be appropriate if the board was inclined to make a motion to combine all 3 of these amendments as one item and take action on all 3 at once. So we would need a
Motion and a vote. Favorable vote.
to bring, to a motion and vote to combine all 3 items, and then we would open the hearing on all 3.
I make a motion to combine the amendment 3.7.5, 4.5.10, and 7.4.1 into one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
And would that include section 4, 5, 10 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
4.5, yeah.
This- In the past, we recommended this already to the town meeting as a favorable vote from the planning board, correct?
Right, and I was going to give a little bit of the history of what's transpired since the since the town meeting vote. So it would probably be appropriate to, now that you've combined all three, to make a motion to open the hearing. And I'll go into some of the changes.
I'll make a motion to open the hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
And if you could bear with me for a few minutes, because there's a lot of things to probably go over, and I'm going to try to go over them as briefly as possible. But as you mentioned, this is an item, or these items of zoning bylaw changes were recommended for approval previously by the planning board, and went to town meeting where it was not approved. So after I go through what the changes were, there's probably 2 votes that would have to be taken, and I'll go into those in a little bit detail, but you know, in the abbreviated form would be 1 to vote that there were significant changes made to the bylaw, and then vote whether or not you would recommend approval or not for the bylaw. Additionally, this evening, we have with us from Total Outdoor Corporation, Drew Hoffman, to answer any questions, and also the attorney Robert Langdon from Bowditch and Dewey to also potentially answer any questions that you may have relative to the bylaw changes. Okay. So, section 4.5.10 is the bylaw that actually had significant changes to it. The other 2 bylaws, 3.7.5 and 7.4.1, did not change from town meeting action specifically, but they did change subsequently because they reference 4.5.10. So indirectly, they did actually change. And so, because those other 2 bylaws both recommend section 4.5.10, I'll go over what those changes were, and again, just bear with me. So, the original bylaw had a maximum height of 100 feet for the sign for the billboard, and the current bylaw now is going to decrease that height to 80 feet. So, and I'll read this just so I don't miss anything. The maximum height of off-premise signs permitted under the proposed amendment is now 80 feet in height above the grade of the roadway nearest to such signs. Because of the location of the regional mall overlay district and other restrictions contained in the proposed amendment, the nearest roadway is the Massachusetts Turnpike. Thus, all premise signs permitted under the proposed amendment may not exceed 80 feet in height above the Massachusetts Turnpike. And again, note that the previous amendment, the maximum height was 100 feet. And the heights of the signs themselves were also reduced, 1 by 15 feet, the sign, the billboard that is on the easterly section of the turnpike, and 5 feet on the westerly, which puts that one at a maximum height of 80 feet. The current version of the proposed amendment also increased the required distance between the base of any off-premise sign to the nearest lot line of a residential lot from 200 feet to 300 feet. So that maximum distance now that it has to be, or a minimum distance that it has to be from the property line, is now 300 feet versus 200 feet. The proposed amendment contains a new section, 4.5.10.5F, requiring a surety be maintained by the operator of any off-premise sign to secure the cost of the removal of such sign in the event the town must remove the sign to remediate the landscape. Such surety must be an amount not to exceed more than 150% of the cost of the removal. The surety will be set by the planning board as part of the site plan review process required under the proposed amendment. The proposed amendment now includes a new section, 4.5.10.5C, clarifying and reiterating the proposed signs must at all times be owned, operated, permitted, and maintained in accordance with all applicable state and federal laws. Currently, all outdoor advertising is subject to the authority of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation and Office of Outdoor Advertising, which I never knew there was such an office that existed, but apparently there is. The proposed amendment also includes a new section, 4.5.10.5D, explicitly prohibiting the depiction of or advertising for any adult entertainment, tobacco, or marijuana product. So those are the changes proposed to section 4.5.10. And
Bill.
then, I'm sorry.
Oh, did you say that the attorney reviewed that and felt that the changes were substantive and significant?
That's going to be, I think, an interpretation of the board if you feel as though these changes have been significant changes. And so that was the one bylaw that changed. And just for the record, I'll read the other two bylaws. Again, indirectly, they're changing because they reference that section. So section 3.7.5 would it be amended to read as follows. Billboards, except as provided in section 4.5.10.5. And I think that's the change, because it has an exception now, where currently it does not, and it references the billboard bylaw. So again, billboards, except as provided in section 4.5.10.5, trailer camps, mobile home sales, truck stops, and all open-air storage of junk, including inoperable automobiles and all uses which are excessively obnoxious or injurious to their neighborhood or to the property in the vicinity are expressly prohibited in all zoning districts in the town. So that is the change to 3.7.5. And then section 7.4.1 will read, except as provided in section 4.5.10.5, all billboards, signs on utility poles, trees, or fences, and all signs not located on the same premises as the advertised activity, business, product, or person. So that, again, it's the exception for the off-premise sign. Okay. So the two votes that would need to be taken would be the vote that the proposed bylaw amendments, and it's a little wordy, amendments to the Regional Mall Overlay District and subsequently sections 3.7.5 and 7.4.1 includes significant changes from the original proposed bylaw amendment approved by the planning board that was on the May 2017 town meeting warrant. So,
Can I make that motion without repeating the whole thing?
I'm of the opinion that you could,
Thank you.
as read, as stated.
Do we want to have public comment?
If you have any comment for us, right?
Scott?
Just in the letter, it said 80 feet above the roadway. In any of the changes that I reviewed, the various drafts, it says 85 feet above the roadway.
It would be
I
80
think it's
80
80.
feet.
80
It was 100.
Right, right.
Now it's 80.
Dropped it to 80.
The
Yes.
site distance away from the nearest
It's 300.
is 300, it was 200.
It's possible there may have been other iterations, but the final iteration I have is
It will
80
be
feet.
okay.
John?
So,
And
Andy?
these changes adequately reflect some of the concerns that were brought at town meeting during the discussion.
I believe that it shows that there have been some significant changes to the billboard requirements, or what's going to be allowed. In addition to that, there's also going to be a public meeting on Thursday night at the high school. I know the town meeting members were invited to that meeting, and certainly I'm sure members of the public could attend as well. At that time, there's going to be a downscaled model of the actual billboard on site. I believe it's going to be outside the town hall, obviously because of the size of it, in which people can kind of actually get a good look at what it would look like. And if you stand off 30 degrees, off face of the sign, you would not be able to see anything. So I think visually having that representation there is going to be very beneficial for people as well to see. So I think between having more information available for town meeting members and some of the changes that have been made, I think is going to hopefully go a long ways in making the town meeting members a little more comfortable with these changes.
Yeah, I agree, they are significant changes, and I hope that satisfies.
What's up?
I think the changes are significant enough that it would warrant another vote.
Okay.
So, would you like to make your motion?
I would love to make that motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's vote.
Okay, and then the other vote that would need to be taken, and just for point of order, whether or not you want to close the hearing, probably should be before you vote it. you normally close it when you're done with the second vote. Yeah, I think
I
you
think
probably
we
close
close it.
it first, yeah. So why don't you, I make a motion to close the hearing.
Do we have a motion to close the hearing?
Make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then maybe the motion for the substantial changes, again, just for the record.
Make a motion for the substantial changes.
Who seconded? Second by Wendy. All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
And then the second vote, now that you've made the vote that there's significant changes, the second vote would be to approve the proposed bylaw amendments to the Regional Mall Overlay District, Section 4.5.10, in addition to Sections 3.75 and Section 7.4.1.
I'll make that motion as stated.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's just, we have a 7:10 public hearing. The applicant is Masad Family LLC, requesting an approval of a definitive subdivision plan under section 3.3 and site plan approval under section 9.4.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for realignment of a portion of 54 Faith Ave, the site of Diamond Auto Group's GM service facility. This was continued from 9/12/17.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I don't believe the applicant is here, but I can give you an update. I did meet with the applicant's attorney and the engineer, so Mr. Steve Madaus, the attorney, and Mr. Mike Scott, the engineer for Waterman Design last Thursday. The two main items that we discussed were the remaining comments that were made that John had relative to some of the construction items. They did indicate to me that they were revising the plans and were going to ask for a continuance tonight. I thought they were going to be here to go over the comments though, but they said that they were going to submit the revised plans knowing that they would not get approval tonight, in hopes that at the next meeting, with comments all being addressed, that they would have approval at the following meeting.
So they're planning to,
They still...
We haven't seen
We haven't
anything
seen them yet, so they still need to
Okay.
submit revised plans, and this, so...
and enough time for everyone to review it prior to the next meeting on October 10th?
Right,
When they wanna
hopefully we
continue to-
would. Right, so I think you'd have to open the hearing, and then request a continuance to the next meeting.
Vote on whether or not we want to grant.
Right.
You okay with that, Scott?
Okay.
John? Wendy? Jason? I'm okay?
Make a motion to open the hearing.
Laura?
We should have a
Masad
motion
Family
to,
LLC.
should have a motion to open hearing. We didn't.
Motion.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
That's okay, I was just providing you with an update, Mr. Chairman, before you opened it, and if I could give you a little more on the update as well. One of the most complicated parts of this project is the realignment of Faith Avenue, and we had very lengthy discussion on how that would happen relative to the right-of-way, where the existing right-of-way of Faith Avenue, where it's very circuitous going around Diamond, would eventually, assuming the new roadway is approved and constructed, would be abandoned. The Masad family would like to have some reassurance that once that they build this new subdivision road, that would be abandoned, in hopes that they would then become the future owner of that property. So we had a very lengthy discussion on how could that transpire, how do you do that? So their attorney is going to draft some language for a town meeting warrant article to present to our town council to review, and it would require town meeting action and potentially even legislation in order for all that to be transpired. So it's very complicated, and I think the Masad family, rightfully so, would like some reassurance that if we build this new road, the town would eventually accept this road. It would have to go through the normal process, planning board approval, engineering would have to inspect it and recommend approval as well, layout hearings, town meeting vote. So all those items would still have to be done. So it is complicated. And so they are working on language which would be presented at potentially at the May town meeting, not this town meeting. Okay, so.
Because we could keep the road the way it is, going all around the loop. If we
Good.
wanted to. And if they didn't want to pay, we could say that that was the way it was going to go. But I thought that, I'm
Right, I
not
think
sure,
all-
they've been so many times that, and I'm sure it's going to be quite some language to write to, because I would think that it would have to go out to the general public, that everyone would have the right to purchase it for whatever reason they might want it.
Those are the things that the attorneys are going to discuss,
Trying to work out.
whether or not it can be specifically have legislation approved that would allow Masad family to take ownership, whether or not there's a dollar value agreed upon. I don't believe we've gotten into those details yet, but obviously if someone were to build this roadway, they want some level of assurance that we're not spending all this money to build a new road, and then the other portion doesn't get discontinued, and we own two roads and they don't own anything. So that's what that meeting involved around, mainly those issues, and it will be something that will be discussed in great detail, I think, between our attorney and their attorney before it goes to town meeting, possibly next May. Okay, so whether or not they start any of the construction prior to that, you know, we explained to them that it would be at your own risk if you did.
Is there a possible way to get around all this sale and giving it all? Can you make it green space or conservation land?
Well, they want to own the land so that the other part of the public hearing is the amendment of their site plan. So eventually, if they take ownership of the old alignment of Faith Avenue, they would expand their parking in that area. So as this moves forward, presumably the next meeting, if it is approved, the site plan, it would be recommended that the site plan be continued, because that can't be approved at this point. For one, it needs to go up for review, and you can't have a site plan on town property where we are also the owner, so we'd have to be the applicant. So the site plan portion of this is going to have to be continued. Okay, so the only thing that we could even approve now would be the subdivision.
I would think that they feel, you know, we in general, as I remember, everyone felt that it was an absolute nice change to make the road straight and everything like that.
Yes.
And I think they feel that and you got less to plow, less chance of accidents and everything else, that they're gonna pay for that, so they would hope that they would at least have the right to purchase the other section.
Yeah, DPW is definitely in support of the realignment. It's a direct shot. It's a new road. The existing road is in poor condition, so I see it as a benefit to the town.
And the easement that they currently have for their lights or their signals and stuff like
Mhm.
that would have to be granted to them
Correct.
from, instead of us to.
Mass
decide.
DOT, I think, has an access easement to the back of the property. So,
And they want to continue to October 10th.
well, yes, we October 10th. That's next.
Jason, any,
No.
Scott? John?
No.
Wendy? We have a motion to grant the continuance to the Masad family.
Make the motion to grant the continuance on October 10th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Thank you.
Shannon, you can put down the time.
What?
You make out the new agenda?
Yeah, just indicate it.
Just put it on.
I'll just
Yes. Motion to
make a
close.
motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's a vote. We have a 7:20 public hearing. The applicant is Eastern Partners, Inc., requesting a modification of an approved definitive subdivision plan known as the Reserve at Ashworth Hill, located off Blaker Street. This meeting was continued from 9/12/17.
Chairman, I think we're still waiting for revised plans. You see the contractor is here, the proponent, to probably give us an update. I believe there has been some land clearing that has started. If I could update the board, last week, Phil Karachi, thank you, came to the office requesting to start clearing the entire lot for the subdivision. I had some reservations about allowing him, the company, to start clearing the entire property. So they did request possibly clearing what was redundant on both plans that wouldn't change, which was the end of the cul-de-sac. But I also had reservations about that as well, because currently this new alignment, even though the end of it may mirror the alignment of the approved plan, the potential exists, because this is still under review, that roadway could shorten up, because it's greater than 800 feet, and I believe it's proposed somewhere around 970 feet. So my recommendation was that even though you have an approved plan, because you're an amendment before the board, I wouldn't allow, because they have to come to engineering to clear the right-of-way, allow clearing of that, because there's still potential that it could change. So the only thing that I felt comfortable with allowing any clearing was the detention pond area, because on both plans, that's consistent, and wouldn't expect it to change. And that was my feeling at the time when meeting with the contractor. I know that they probably weren't happy with that decision, but at the same time, I think it's in the best interest of the town not to clear cut this entire parcel. In addition, I think that as the project moves forward, once we do receive the revised plans, if there is a amended decision, I think part of that, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we should get into discussing phase construction plans, and whether or not that's something the board puts as a condition of approval, so that they're reviewed and approved, you could say, by engineering or by DCG, possibly. That way the whole group can look at the phase construction plans. But I think we've had this situation in town where an entire parcel of land has been cleared, and it has gone on for years and years, and has been a problem for the town, and I hate to see that happen again. So just keep in mind that, again, if this moves forward and we amend the approval, that we look to have a condition in there to require phase construction plans be presented and approved prior to construction. And did you, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to open the
Thank
hearing.
you.
Second.
All those in favor?
For the record, my name is Chad Boardman, represent Albert Blaker, LLC, Eastland Partners. That is correct. We are in the process of revising the plans. Also, I'd like to also make a remark, of course, back to the original approval under the original subdivision, where we do have the right to clear and start all the construction activities as of now. We did follow Bill's thing, and we did start clearing where the erosion, where the detention ponds would be, and we installed all the erosion control like we would for the original set of plans. But what it comes down to sometimes is that this isn't a very large parcel. It's only 4 or 5 acres realistically, and sometimes getting kind of pigeonholed into a smaller area is more or less kind of difficult to deal with, because you have to identify where the stockpile areas are, and that's why they're on the plan, and that's why they're on the other proposed plan. So when you're in this area and you're near the street, it's nice to open up a clear area and actually do where the erosion control plan, there's a purpose why the stockpiles have to go up into here, silt fence, off. It just gets us, being able to cut and do some of these grades and pile some of this stumps
When
per
you say,
se.
4 or 5 acres,
Yeah.
you don't mean the entire parcel and all the lot size, you mean the area which...
The area which was
Detention pond, the road,
Yeah.
and the...
and some of the lots as well, because the lots were included in the original subdivision. The limit of clearing was done on the original plans because you still have to identify for stormwater management where your stockpiles are going. And that's what we did during the original one. So that means we would like to get up into this cul-de-sac area so we can store some of the loom eventually. And like Bill says, phasing's okay, but the typical thing that we would obviously do is cut and then identify any of the areas where subject to erosion, which would be the street, and of course start with the basins. With that in mind, there's also what we'd typically do, probably not shown on this plan, but we would take this proposed settling pond and identify this, so if there's any runoff coming down here, it would fall into here, and again follow into this basin area. And it's relatively the same design as the original one that was proposed.
Does Concom guide you as to where you have to put the hay bales and those?
Yes, yeah.
Tension set and
Yeah,
that?
we have an active order. We did call conservation with Sheila. We told her that all the erosion controls were up. Some towns, we do ask in advance. Some towns like to cut trees, believe it or not, and prior to, and others don't. You like to have them, in right now. Sometimes what happens is when the trees come down and all hell breaks loose with the hay bales when you do it prior to. So no problem there.
Well, Bill mentioned that he had a question about the length of the road changing, and that's why if it didn't have to get cut up in the area of the cul-de-sac,
Well, it's on this plan. I believe it's like 920, and the other one would be 8. So that's a distance of about 100 feet. But I would still cut the same areas on those lots anyways. I'm out of the buffer zone, so it's kind of a moot point where when the house is going there anyways, or the stockpile there, it's taking up the same vicinity anyways. That was my only
I think,
only issue with
Mr.
that.
Chairman, if I could, I believe we're at somewhere around 970 feet of the length of the roadway. So, and the maximum length of the road is 800 feet.
Yeah.
So you're talking 170 feet, which is pretty significant area, and I think it would be not wise to allow clearing of something that's still under review and subject to change. Not knowing what the applicant would do if the board came back and said, we'll allow 800 feet but not 970 feet. I mean, it's still under review, so to
800
allow...
is the maximum.
Right, so to allow it to be cleared now, based on the other approval, unless they want to withdraw the revised plan, I wouldn't recommend clearing it until we know what direction we're heading in.
Right.
And I'm sorry, and I think, relative, if we do change this plan, whether or not we have to look at, are you going back to conservation with a revised plan?
I'm out of the buffer zone where I have to go to conservation, except into the basin area. So I'm going tomorrow night to see the conservation. Typically, these two basin areas are very similar than what was already previously approved. Nothing else is being put into the buffer zone, shall we say. From the original plan that was already approved, there's no more areas that are going into it, shall we say. If not, it's probably going out in those areas. So I'll have that resolved tomorrow night. So I was going there to give them this. I don't think it's necessary to modify it, but I wanted to give their blessing. And they said, yeah, please, please come in and show us what you're doing. I know it's a small revision, but.
Scott?
I just don't see why this has to be in all of the other, and Bill brought up good points, and your point where you have to bring earth and whatnot up the hill. I just don't understand why we'd have to clear the entire lot to prove, or to get what you're seeking.
Well, what happens now is, I have obviously people that are working. I'm trying to keep guys moving. I have a subdivision that's already approved in here. If we want to do the old plan, I guess I could withdraw and do it, but clearly this makes all the sense in the world, going out to Albert Street and revising that whole intersection for public safety and everything else.
Just to reiterate to the other people, it was going to come in down further south.
That's correct, yeah.
And would have been a left and...
Yeah. Turn left to Blaker, another 160 feet, and then turn in, and then go to the 800. I think we only proposed 7 and change the last time, so it wasn't 800.
What is the length of that road opposite where Albert Street comes in, up to the cul-de-sac now? the way you have it there?
I believe it's the zoning is 920 to the center of the cul-de-sac, so it's 920 feet.
Okay. And would you consider it to the other side of the cul-de-sac, which would be like the 970?
Well, the length of the road would be 970. I believe it could be measured to the center. I'd have to double check the language and the subdivision rules and regulations. But in either case, it's a plan that's been submitted that we're still waiting for revised plans. I think it's, in my opinion, somewhat premature to start clearing. We don't know for sure that you're going to come in directly off of Albert Street. The board hasn't approved the plans yet. So
Yeah,
and it's something certainly we're willing to sit down with the applicant, once the plans are approved, to go over the phase construction plans, to look at where the stockpile areas are. We understand that you have to work with the contractor to make it feasible as well. But at the same time, if we can minimize some of the clearing, so that the entire parcel is not clear cut all at once, I think we want to make sure areas are stabilized. And what we run into is when we start cutting and filling and we have 5 acres or whatever it might be exposed and not stabilized, and then you have 3 inches of rain fall in a 2-hour period and it turns into a nightmare. So I think we just want to make sure that we're looking at stabilizing certain areas before we clear cut, grade, in the entire lot.
We've had this in several developments where that's happened and it's gone down and into Stoneville and
Yes.
whatnot. So Scott, anything else? John?
I stick with Paul's. Paul's opinion on that.
You agree with Bill?
I have a few more things to
Oh, go
add to the update. Several of the changes we're just about to, I was going to release them actually tonight to you guys, but there came to be about the parcel being, the basins being in the parcels. And the prior plan did have a kind of a swale going down the street, which technically would have to be in the parcel that goes to the town. So there was some talk about that. The parcel definitely had to go on the town. The town was originally going to take these. They had to be, the basins had to be on a town parcel, more or less. So that has been revised. Drop sewer manholes by Mr. Reagan, that's been worked out with Jeff. I've been down to Ken Smith at the water department. All those plans have been actually updated. He wanted a cap and some special technical things that were kind of minor that we would have done anyways, but we did revise them on a plan as well. So, so what we here tonight kind of asking, I'm going to submit another package tomorrow morning with everything all brand new for Graves and for Bill and all the boards to review, and just respectfully ask for another continuance, of course.
Scott, anything else? John? Any public comment?
My name
Mrs.
is
Lozada?
Sarah 11 Baker Street. Two questions. I haven't seen any of the revisions as you haven't. But I wanted to know how steep that cul-de-sac is going to be. And secondly, there's been a third fender bender at that intersection. I really recommend there's a stop sign there. Because people just, now that it's flat, they just speed and then they take the corner. There's nobody.
You mean
has to
coming
stop.
down off Tinka coming down,
Like,
coming down Albert to Blake and taking a right?
yeah, they just can't do that corner and there's nothing to slow them down at the end of that road.
Through the chair, there's been 3 accidents there.
Yep.
Have there been, the police responded to these
I
accidents?
don't know. I know there was no personal injuries. It was
Yeah.
fender benders, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Since the last meeting, we did install these speed limit signs, the cautionary 30-mile-per-hour yellow and black signs. In terms of stop signs, it's actually a lengthy process to have stop signs installed. In fact, we have a town meeting warrant article to modify the method on how they become legal in town. So it's going to require public hearings, selectmen vote as well. And I guess some of the questions I have, and I don't know if the applicant's at a point where they can indicate if this is going to remain a 4-lot subdivision, because certainly if it's a 4-lot subdivision, where we put stop signs may differ than if it becomes a, several hundred unit development. So I'm somewhat hesitant to install stop signs, not knowing what the future of this project is going to be. I know what we have before us is a 4-lot subdivision, right? But I don't want to go to a selectmen meeting, have stop signs installed, to only go back and say, now there's going to be changes. In fact, if this project evolves into something else, there may be a traffic study required where recommendations may come out of proposed stop sign location. So that's my hesitation. It's a low-speed intersection. I know you're indicating fender benders. Certainly, I would hope they wouldn't have any serious accidents at that intersection. So it's something that we, DPW, we are aware of. We will move forward on providing some traffic safety improvements at that intersection, but I think we want to make sure we're doing it in a logical manner as well, and not have to change things later.
We could verify with Bill tomorrow that we do have a traffic study for more, obviously, more than this, and we also have a study just for this as well, and the intersection potentially could have a stop sign there, so we can review, you know.
Yeah, any traffic studies, Mr. Chairman, that they have, if they could present that to us for a review.
When you
Mhm.
submit the plan.
Sure, yeah, it might be the same thing, so might be able to be
One
good.
more comment, is that it's not how many, I mean, there's gonna be more traffic, the more housing units are there, but it's because the road has been widened and it is now a flat surface that is creating more of a speed coming up Alpha Street. So regardless of what,
And through the chair, that's why we did post the speed limit signs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the reality is people will travel at a speed that they are comfortable traveling at. And unless there's police enforcing it 24/7, unfortunately, that's reality.
Are you on Albert Street, Mrs.
I'm on
Lassard?
Baker,
Blake.
corner of Baker and Albert is where my property is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you just reiterate for me, where are you with Ken and the water department?
Ken wanted to, the end of the water main itself, he wanted a plug and cap, more or less another 18 feet of pipe can be capped off with Ken down
But
there.
he's approved to
Yeah,
provide you
yeah,
with water.
he's back to the same conditions as the original one, no more than the 5 lots or whatever it was. Yeah, that's correct, yep.
Do you have a blow off at the end of the cap?
Hmm?
Do you have you putting a blow off in at the end of the cap? How close is the height to the end of the line?
18 feet. You get a hydrant right there, right? It shows you in here. Then you come out of
18
that.
feet past the hydrant?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he wanted, yeah.
I didn't know if they had the answer to how steep is the, what was that?
I believe it's 8% and less, it's per the town regs, no steeper than that.
Can you explain to her, Bill,
Let
what
me see.
8%, just so,
Let me just
8 feet to 100.
Right, it'll be 8 feet and 100. I'm just trying to see if that's accurate.
It's always the last.
7. Yeah, this is it. Final sheet.
Might even be an odd number.
Yeah, it starts off at just under 3% when you come out of the intersection. It does go to a maximum of 8%, and I believe when you get to the cul-de-sac, it's flattening down to about just under 4.5%. So there is a section of 8% for probably, it looks like about 400 feet.
Thank you.
is there any other public comment? There being none, anything else?
No, that's it.
Bill?
Mr. Chairman.
Just be to recommend a continuance.
Yes, please.
Do we have a motion to approve a continuance to October 10th?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Right.
Wendy?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, it is a vote.
Thank you. Trying to clear the plate.
Okay, we have, the next public hearing is at 7:30. The applicant is Pridez LLC requesting site plan approval under section 3.2.5.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the proposed use of a beauty shop on properties located at 781 Southbridge Street at 4 Appleton Road. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Hello,
Aye.
my name is Brian Larshell. I'm with Graves Engineering, and I am representing our client, the applicant, Prides LLC. Prides is a small business owner in the town of Auburn. They currently operate a beauty shop where they lease their space, and they're looking, or they did purchase these 3 parcels, and they're looking to move their business from where they currently are to this existing building at 781 Southbridge Street. So part of this project would be to create this parking area behind this existing building.
781
Yeah,
Southbridge.
they,
Is that the auto?
It's next to out from the old auto place, the Coke place now, I believe.
He's right on the corner of Appleton and Route
Yeah,
12.
Appleton Road, there's 2, they look like residential houses.
Oh, all right, they're not buildings.
No.
They're not commercial buildings.
No, they look like residential buildings. I'm not sure if they were office space before.
I think the second one may be office space, the one further away from the intersection.
It's not where Star Realty was.
that's what I'm,
I can call it up if you want to see.
Because if
Yeah,
they're
that'd
at
be good.
seven, if they're on Southbridge Street, then they can't be up at,
I believe on the other side of Appleton Road is a fabric store. It's a larger building.
okay.
It's right
That's
across.
the old Auburn Auto Parts building.
Okay.
If you went up Appleton Road, that would be on your left, and these parcels are on your right, or are they after that parcel on the left?
It's on the right,
Maybe these
right
two
on the
right-
corner.
let's see.
so when you're coming up to the satellites to go left on Mill Street, they're right there on the right hand side. Before the
I mean,
auto
these
parts.
two parcels here.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so they might both be residential then. I was thinking of this one, this one's commercial. So this is Appleton, and here's Route 12, this is Peril Auto across the street. So that's these 2 parcels.
Correct. And so our client bought these 3 parcels, but this project is just concerning 781 and the lot behind it for Appleton.
With a little red spot on it?
The red four,
Cool. Can't see that.
2 classes.
So our client owns this, but the
Short
project
distance.
is not concerned about it.
Discriminate. Okay, proceed.
So like I said, they're looking to renovate this existing building, no building addition. However, they are going to be creating a new entrance on the western side, and that will serve as the main entrance to the building. The proposed project is just to create this parking area behind the building with a new curb cut onto Appleton Road, and that's through that 4 Appleton Road lot.
Can you show us up there where you'd be?
So the parking area would be right in, how far does it extend?
Back of 781?
Yeah, so the parking area extends basically like this. There's wetlands down here, so it's outside of the 50-foot buffer
And you'd enter it by Appleton?
by Appleton.
Not coming to the left side as we look at it from here up 781 and
No.
or the right?
Yeah, so just a new
Enter
curb
it.
cut right here to enter a parking area.
Okay. How many spaces would you be proposing?
So it's a total of 20 spaces, with 18 being in the new parking area, and then there's 2 existing spaces at that little driveway in the front, which would be restricted to just employees.
And these would be, those parking spaces in that lot would be, you would be changing the lot, or you just have part of it on 4, part of it on 781?
Correct.
And they would be for the use at 781,
Correct.
not for any other intended use that would be at 779?
No. I'm not sure what our client's goal is for that building. If they're going to rent it out or do something else, but they're going to be renovating this and creating this a beauty salon, and the parking would be for that building at 781.
Mr. Chairman, if I could jump in. I don't believe that this project has gone to the DCG for review at this point, and I think because Graves is designing it, and obviously the town uses Graves quite frequently for review, I think in the past we've gone to Quinn Engineering for a review, for a peer review. So it's something that if the board was inclined, we could continue this hearing, and we could get a quote from Quinn Engineering for the review. In the meantime, we could schedule it for a DCG meeting so that the other department heads can meet and review and discuss.
Because
it.
Graves is the presenter.
Graves is the presenter, so we would look for another engineering review.
If I may,
You've got everything on your plan. You,
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
it's a full set of.
it's a full set of plans, and typically, I've talked about before, on some of the simple projects where, in particular, what I use as a defining determination of whether or not it's a simple project, if there's absolutely no drainage or hydrology calculations or potential ponds, it's a very simple site plan that we can review in-house. Sometimes we hammerhead lots, the water towers, the tanks, there's no drainage involved. We can review those fairly quickly with very limited resources internally, just myself and another engineer. With a lot on our plate, it's hard for us to have the time to do projects this big. Not that it's big, but time
Well, you got
consuming.
parking, you
It's
got
time consuming.
the wetlands that are in the
It-
area.
It would be several months before we probably can get to it. So we would normally send this out for peer review.
If I might add, our client was looking to get this built this fall, so we've applied to Conservation and ZBA, and we've received an order of conditions for the project. And the ZBA has granted us a special permit for the impervious area that's in the Zone 2 of the aquifer. So if there's anything that we could do to expedite the process, I
We can try to get it over to, we'll get a quote
Get
from
a quote
Quinn
from Quinn.
and try to get it under review as quickly as possible. So I would probably suggest we could continue it to the 10th and see if they can turn it around.
we appreciate that.
Yeah. So
You okay with that, Scott?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
John?
Yeah, I just got a couple of questions. On the drainage coming from the building,
Yep.
it heads back to our lot 4. I see an outlet there, and then I see another sub-drain in like an island area,
Yep.
and that goes to an outlet. Does that water go off the property?
So I can explain the drainage briefly. It's been designed with low impact design. Basically, this parking area sheet flows into a swale, and the swale spills into 2 sediment forebays to meet the water quality treatment.
Right.
This drainage you see from the roof drains is just for the recharge volume. So that's just a subsurface system that would just provide
Right, you have
recharge.
an overflow that comes out to the
Yep.
swale.
And it does overflow, but it overflows at the 100-year storm, so that's above and beyond. It overflows into this basin. This is a bioretention basin, which does spill into, it's within the property, but it's wetland there.
Looks like it's gonna head out toward Appleton Road.
through the chair, this is, in the past, was an area where we experienced quite a bit of flooding. Mass DOT has done a lot of work in the area. So are you outside? Have you checked the 100-year floodplains? I know the 100-year floodplain is in this area.
Yeah, so we have it shown on the plan. It just barely goes
Just
by.
outside it?
It is just
Okay.
outside the 100, yeah.
Okay.
One other question is, why would you have all paved parking spaces except for the ones in the back leaving gravel?
That was just simply at our client's request to save cost. We did design everything based on that being impervious in case in the future they would like to pave that.
Would we require oil and water separators for a lot with the 18 spaces, so to speak, out there? We gotta think about that, because
Yeah.
when it goes on the asphalt, and then it can go in and be collected somewhere, but if it's on gravel in that wetlands area already in the aquifer
And
zone,
that's
it
why we
can go
want.
right into,
Right.
right in.
Right.
Peer review.
That's why we want to have a peer review, because we want to see, I know certain zones are required that you park on paved surfaces, and I think that's something that I'd have to go through all the bylaws, and there's been some instances where it's been allowed, but that's why we want a peer review done.
John, anything else?
No.
Wendy? Jason? Is there any public comment? Mr. Broder? No?
Okay, let's go.
You all set, Phil?
Yeah, if you want to motion to continue, I'll have them sign a request for
Make a
it.
motion to continue the hearing to October 10th.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
All those in favor?
Sign it. Continue
It is a
request.
vote. Continue to Tuesday, October 2nd.
10th.
10.
It's
Yeah.
very hot.
Can't see the screen.
Okay, if you have Prime Motors next. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll just-
7:40 public hearing. The applicant is Faith Realty Trust, Prime Motor Group, requesting a modification to an approved site plan under section 9.4 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for a minor change in the location of the building on property located at 774 to 780 Washington Street and 10 Faith Avenue. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open the hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The hearing is open.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Todd Broder from Fletcher Tilton, here on behalf of the applicant, Prime Motor Group. Garrett's just going to set up the easel here. Probably take more time setting it up than me talking to you, but that's all right. We're here for a minor site plan modification. I think the letter from Kelly Engineering kind of calls out in pretty good detail what we're talking about, but two main issues, I guess, to point you to. The DOT curb cut has been finalized. That resulted in some changes to the curb cut, which you'll see in a second. And secondly, there's been some changes. A new architect came in and redesigned the floor plan of the building, which works a lot better for the operator. And so it ends up shifting the building slightly. So what Garrett's going to show you is a kind of an overlay plan that outlines what's been modified versus what was previously approved. You'll see it's concentrated in the area of the showroom building and the curb cut area, but I'll have Garrett will point out a little more specifically on the plan where things are.
Thank you, Todd. For the record, Garrett Horsfall with Kelly Engineering Group. Was hoping that the Masad family dealership might be on, because that's actually right over here at the Faith Avenue. Actually, this is the snaking around that you mentioned before. This is the existing site. We previously got this approved approximately a year ago. In the past winter and spring, we constructed the two approved storage lots in the back. And ultimately, Prime's goal in this whole operation was to keep this existing facility operating as much as they could while they prepare for the new dealership. So this was the previously approved project. Obviously, just referencing. Here's the Faith Ave snaking around again. The two storage lots that are currently built, and then this general area right now they're currently working in, which is actually outside of our proposed new plan. Then this is the overlay that Todd was referencing earlier. So the general existing building was in this general location. Previously, we only had about 10 feet separation between the buildings. This provides for about 20 feet, which would be much easier to hopefully maintain this building operating while they construct this new facility. We held the back corner, be cautious of the wetlands. We went to conservation, got order conditions. We held our limit of works, we did not increase that at all. And then the actual building footprint is squared up in this area. The building before is kind of elongated, sort of a Z shape. This box structure actually allows Prime to be more efficient parking, creates less dead space of basically a sea of asphalt. This makes more of an even parking layout. Then briefly, the other big change is the curb cut off of Route 20. The location didn't change off of Route 20, just the angle ends in the existing actually curb cut in here. We've gone to Mass DOT, they've approved this plan. They've also approved our proposed drainage easement, as well as the curb cut permit. And then just some general statistics. The previous footprint was 32,232 feet. This new footprint is about 34,000 square feet. The main increase in the footprint is actually this area over here is where they're going to have the new car delivery area. They're going to have it enclosed now. Generally it's open under overhangs. I guess the new auto industry is turning into this garage type lift doors. They'll take photos of the new vehicle inventory. Previously, we had 633 stalls in total on this site. However, as you can see, we're able to park this a little bit more efficiently. We were able to gain 659 total stalls. That's 144 per zoning, which complies with the zoning regulations, and 515 storage. And I think the best improvement of this whole project is it's actually a reduction in impervious area. The only drainage watershed that was changed was the area to get into the basin. It's a reduction of about 1,100 square feet less impervious. And I was actually on site doing test bits for the infiltration basin in the back, and actually had a chance to review the plan with Jeff Walsh from Graves Engineering, who was the peer reviewer for this project. I briefly just went over the plan changes with him, and he didn't see any problems with it. But we're open to answer any questions you guys may have.
Does the shift in the building bring it closer to Route 20?
No.
It's hard to tell.
This is kind of right here is the proposed and existing. It's the same setback, and it was 40.
You cut straight across it.
Yeah. The one thing that did shift was the this opening kind of juts out. This was the existing location of it, and it was moved over here, which may be why you're seeing it a little bit differently. But the same building line was held.
How many handicap spaces have you got?
So we have 5 handicap stalls. They're located right across the door. It complies with ADA, roughly right from here, quickest, most accessible road to the door.
So, you got a total of 659? How many are in the inventory packet?
You got changed.
We have 515 storage stalls and 144 per zoning that are dedicated customer and employee stalls.
The 5 handicapped are based on the 144?
Correct.
In that section, but minus the
Mr. Chairman, my initial feeling was that it didn't seem to be a significant change. It was a relatively minor modification. Just for the clarification, is that hatched area in the front, is that a walkway?
This area
What
in
is
here. This is just the actual handicap access route. Strike.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure it wasn't any physical structure. So,
No.
Okay,
Just
handicap. Okay. I would have to say I agree. It looks like, and I had similar comments to John or concerns that you're not increasing or decreasing the setback distance. You're meeting the same setback that you had previously.
Correct.
Okay. And your impervious area you're decreasing, so we're not increasing runoff. So I think they're relatively minor.
And the increase in the building's only, what, 1,500 square feet?
About that, yeah. It's actually a decrease in gross floor area. Originally, they had several offices on the second floor, and this proposed new building only has, I think, storage parts on the second floor. The new architect was able to come in and basically put all the offices and reduce the cost of the building, which worked out to their benefit as well.
And through the chair, I'm assuming that the parking stalls on the easterly side of the building, where you have the island created, I'm sure you've looked at making sure that the water's going to flow away from that.
Yeah. So we only, most of our grading was actually able to stay in place. The only real grading changes were around the finished floor.
I'm assuming this is draining away from the building, right in here, you kind of...
Correct. Yeah, we have a basin. There's a couple basins actually over in here.
Where's the detention point?
It's actually in the same location as this.
Mine's, excuse me, but where we want to straighten Faith Ave on that side, it almost looks like these two are gonna overlap each other.
They're gonna be close, I mean, they're on their own parcels of land, in Faith Ave alignment's gonna go right around this detention pond. So, but they're on their property and, you know, they've got on separate properties, but they are close.
And that side of the site is not, you know, it's not really changing at all once you get past
Yeah,
those
this
first
is-
few
once you
parking
get
spaces
past-
up against the building.
We're keeping that basically the same as the original design. Like, even the grading's the same. We were able to catch the proposed grades, and even the contours were spot on.
I don't see it as a major modification. I don't know, is there much of a change within the buffer zone relative to
No,
conservation?
we've actually, if anything, it's a decrease in impervious. We've held this wall, we've held the corner. This corner was our limit before the
Okay.
building. And then we actually had green in the buffer zone before in the previous plan.
The site lighting will stay the same?
We're just gonna, only 2 poles I believe are gonna move. It's gonna be it's gonna move the lighting over in this island. When we were originally proposing this lighting along Route 20, the main concern was the glare of the headlights. They'll be the same fixtures with the shields. We'll have the glare on Route 20.
Well, we didn't want to spill on it to Route 20.
Exactly, yeah.
We
There'll
wanted to be
0
zero
foot
at the
candle,
property line.
shields, LED.
I thought we talked about shields or whatever you were gonna do to keep it.
None of that's changed.
Changed. Scott?
No comments.
John?
Also,
Good.
No concern.
I think it'll be nice when it's all done. Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the modification.
can I have a motion to approve it as
A minor.
minor modification?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right,
Motion that we
close the
hearing.
vote.
Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Moving right along.
So, next page.
Discussion, member discussion.
71 Curtis Street, Packagug Farms subdivision, section 6.3.1. And I believe, Bill, as we talked, that's down at the bottom of Curtis on the left.
Yes, this
Went in a few years ago?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, probably 2 years ago, I think came before the board. And this has just been brought up as a discussion item only, just to bring it to the board's attention. We're looking at the subdivisions that have been approved in recent years, and just to check the status of them. And it appears as though there may have been some items that the applicant may not have recorded. When Mr. Benoit returns to work from out on his medical leave, I think we're going to talk to Matt just to see if he can look into this. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we may have it as a future item of discussion to make sure that they've dotted the I and crossed the T on all the approvals. So it's just something to bring to the board that we're going to be looking at it, and we'll bring it back to the board and report back to you with any findings that we have. If there's anything further that needs to be done that wasn't done previously.
Second is Mary, does anyone have any questions on that? Second item for discussion is Mary D. Stone and JB Schools 40B Housing Project, local comment period. I think we're gonna have 55 units in each, Bill?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at present, they are proposing, I believe, 55 units and Mary D. and 55 units at Julia Bancroft. We're in the process of filing a Chapter 40B comprehensive permit project eligibility application for both of the schools. As part of the comprehensive permit process, the State Department of Housing and Community Development allows the town to submit comments for appropriate boards and commissions, which is why it's before you this evening. You don't have to take any action, but you have the ability, if you wish to make comment on the project.
And these are for 55 and older units?
Yes, and it's something that the town, it's gone through an extensive public review process, and the town, it's had full support of the town at this point, and we're very happy to see this, the use for both the buildings. So certainly the board, if you wish to have comments, I believe the deadline is September 30th. Again, you're not required to make any comments at all. And I think the town manager would like to have comments actually by tomorrow, by noontime, if you were to make any.
Well, I feel that it's a good idea. It would be a good use of those schools. And, I'd be in favorable of sending a favorable recommendation to the town or Board of Selectmen that if all of you are inclined to do so.
One thing I would like to know, is there going to, have there been any outreach to the local transit authority to, bus routes or anything of that nature? Because it is 55 and older, there will be.
Yeah, I think Shannon's actually probably been more involved in some of the outreach than I have, so I don't know if you...
There has been outreach, so they're working on moving the one in front of Julia Bancroft closer to Julia Bancroft, right on that intersection, so people don't have to cross. And then they're either going to we'll try to do paratransit, or actually have a bus stop in front of Mary Kay, so they have been working with the WRT.
Great.
Scott?
No, I mean, I looked through skimmed through what Shannon sent us, it was a lot. I have no comment, I'm fine.
All set.
Good.
Nothing bad.
So can I have a motion that we would prepare a letter of favorable recommendation from the planning board?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, because the deadline is tomorrow, if we have just a brief letter drafted, would there be somebody that could sign the letter on behalf of the board in the area? Okay.
Oh, you have it now or no?
No, we can draft something in the morning, and then if you, as the chairman, want to sign on behalf of the board, I can give you a call when it's ready, and then that way that we can have that comment letter prepared.
Is that okay with you?
Okay. Thank you.
Number 3, Bryn Mawr Estates subdivision update. Bond reduction request, street lighting and landscape plan review. And I don't think there's anything new.
Yeah, no change. We're just
No
carrying this
change.
item just in case things do change.
Associate member vacancy, if you know anyone that would like to be on the planning board or is an associate member, you might ask them to call the Selectman's office. Additional content, anything?
No, I don't have anything additional.
Under correspondence, we have 314 Washington Street, Fletcher Tilton letter.
Okay.
Which I did not have.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. This is a letter from a property owner or an attorney representing Auburn Industrial Development Corporation. They are of the opinion that they have certain legal rights to property there was a site plan approved recently on 314 Washington Street. They have sent a letter in requesting that the planning board rescind site plan approval because it appears as though it is a property line or a property issue or disagreement relative to easements.
So that's saying we granted a site plan approval and part of what it was on a piece of land that their client owns?
That's what they're saying, or they have rights to. So the board, it isn't the board's job to determine what property rights the applicant has or doesn't have. They're presenting a plan prepared by professionals, and it's incumbent upon them to obviously make sure that if they own the land and that they have all legal rights to the land. So
What was the one that we approved?
this was the Impact Fitness.
Impact Fitness.
So what we will do is we will reach out to Impact Fitness and see if they can come to the next meeting agenda to give us an update. And also, I'm sure that they'd probably received a copy of this letter, but it seems like it's more of a property disagreement, so maybe a civil matter, but I can understand their request to rescind the plan. But without knowing the facts behind it, I don't think the board be in a position to rescind the plan when, just because one person claims rights to the property.
Right.
You know, anyone can claim they have rights.
As
We're
you
not-
said, if we signed it and
Right.
we had licensed
There's professional engineers and I'm sure
and all
surveyors
that,
involved.
we based on everything we did on that.
Pretty sure that the plan that we approved showed the easement on it.
There was an easement.
Right.
Maybe proposed
And
easement.
wasn't it around on the west side?
I believe it was probably in the northwest side, yeah. They wrapped
Northwest
around
side
the now
versus the old Tolman property.
Right.
Yep.
So obviously, there's a disagreement in property rights. We will reach out to the proponent, the developer, advise him, and then ask them if they can come in to the next meeting on
Yeah,
October
something,
10th.
something for us to change it would, and revoke it, would have to be some legal thing that would be advised by an attorney, or they bring it to dispute and say,
Right, it almost-
okay, it's been decided that
Oh,
it is.
attorney order. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
again,
then we-
I'm not a lawyer, so I would assume you're right. I would think you would need some sort of court order for a cease and desist. I don't think, the board is not, we're not lawyers, and we're not registered land surveyors, nor are we in a
We do
position.
have one lawyer.
Do we have a lawyer? Well, oh, that's right, sorry.
It's not
Well,
We're
licensed.
not,
Covers it back.
but he's not gonna, I'm sure he's not going to represent them,
But why,
certainly without some stipulations.
why would we even request them to come back in then?
We can reach out to them for an explanation. I didn't know if the board wanted to hear from them an explanation of what this is all about.
No, I think it follows the same logic, just, I wouldn't drag them in just because someone made a comment either.
Sure.
I think it wastes a lot of time and resources,
So-
so it's like this becomes substantive. We know attorneys, if they wouldn't have sent in, they'd love to send in a lot more than one page, I think, if this was a little bit more.
Yeah, let them deal, and if they got something they can do when it comes to us,
Okay.
we make
Yeah.
it.
So why don't we reach out to the applicant for Impact Fitness and basically advise them to receive this letter and see if they can give us maybe a written response to this claim.
Yeah, we might do
Probably
that.
good enough.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm surprised that lawyer didn't send a letter to the owner of Impact Fitness.
I'm sure
They
you
may.
did.
Yeah, they probably did. This one just came to the board.
No CC in
No,
the bottom?
no CC. No.
No, he's probably hoping that we bring him into here and we start creating issues on our side.
Right.
Less resistance
Right.
to going into
That's
it.
what I'm
Right.
saying.
There would be a war in here.
You're yard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next. 18 Blaker Street, review by Graves.
That's the same correspondence that we had previously for Eastland Partners, I believe.
Minutes of 9/12/17.
Not there.
Not there.
Next meeting, October 10th, 2017. Anything else, Scott? John? Wendy?
No.
Jason?
Nothing.
Me? Bill? Shannon? Okay, we have adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed?